to everybody. I would like to disclose something historical today. Perhaps a lot of you, many of you don't know that predictive targeting, which is today something very normal to every one of us over here, has been started not in the States, it has been started in Germany. And it's now 10 years ago that this guy, Stephan Noller, and I came together in an initiative and project in my former company, web.de, and we were the first to design something which was predictive targeting. In those days, much more involved. I remember to have seen in white papers from the Facebook arena about 2007, the first time the understanding that there's never enough data, and to work on precise data like we are used from direct marketing is not enough to describe the human being with the contact points we usually are able to gather. And so predictive targeting was invented. And I'm very glad. The funny thing is the first time in 10 years that we're on the same podium. The first time. So thanks a lot for inviting me, and it's an honor to me to be with nugg.ad on the same stage. I think what we're talking about over here is it has been a lot of technologies in the very beginning, and I would think it's very important that we sometimes turn the head and think about what we are going through and why we do it, and what impact we have. And I will totally concentrate on impact. Has one thing to do that my statistics and mathematics diploma is long ago, and I've been forced to do other ways in my life, or I did other ways in my life, so I couldn't mix into this discussion anymore. But on the other side, I really believe that the discussions we had over here have to lead to something that we definitely do something for our society, and I'm totally disagree with the statement that it's only for money. Money pays social security, money pays health insurance systems, money pays streets, money makes sure that people don't live in poverty, and this money is earned by companies and the people who work in companies. That's the organizational form. So don't forget, you're working for the best, for a better industry, a better life, and a better world. Let's start with media. As I already told, everything started 10 years ago, and data in those days, to turn the head of the industry from an environment-centric view, how media was deployed, to a user-centric view, that instead of looking what kind of newspaper you're reading, what kind of TV formats you're looking, people started to understand, or we try to train people saying, look, whatever he does, the person itself carries all the information we need in order to talk to him. We don't need to know what he's reading, because he will tell us over the time if we do tracking and then target with his data. This was a real disruption. It took 10 years, and even today, a lot of owners and people from the classical media industry still stick to the environmental model instead of understanding that the future is definitely user-centric. The next disruption is coming from the point that we understood that these systems have to act much more automatic in order to be able to pay the process, to make targeting in a way accessible from the economic point of view, that it could use to all the deployment of media. And this was the start of what we today call, sometimes a little bit misleading, programmatic advertising, because one of the most important things in programmatic advertising was that we first did our homework. We worked on our existing media, and with yield management, we are putting on any contact a little stick saying this contact has these data. And without this step into yield management, there would be no programmatic advertising at all. And some people talk about programmatic advertising, which is, to me, less a logistical solution, but the important step within the programmatic advertising area is yield management. So this all together has really disruptive the industry. It is true that still today only a small part of the world gets its information about products called advertising by online. But I see that more and more, even the classical industry is starting to introduce digital backbones. And over time, I foresee a future where everything is digitally, either in the front end, minimum to the very close to the front end with its backbone, so connected to one digital-based environment. So overall, we will see a future where we have a digital automated data-based environment, how media is placed in the future. That's for sure. We may discuss how we did this morning, how this happens, what methodology we use, what technologies we use, but overall, this will happen. This is done. We just finalize the way we do it. But is this enough? And I've just been as president of BVDW on the DMEXCO, and I was a little bit disappointed that too many people kind of was overwhelmed by the successes of programmatic advertising, not understanding that this is a small silo. Media is only a silo about what's happening out there in the world. Media is the last mile to the customer. An important one, because as we know from the broadband access discussions, the last mile is quite often very expensive and very difficult to do, but it's only the last mile. And therefore, I think we have to learn, after having automated ad serving, targeting, programmatic ad serving, and that we have to do the next step, that we have to leave the media people have to leave their silo. And the next step is certainly that we talk about marketing automation. Marketing automation is the overall about what we're doing. And the problem is that people usually, when they talk about marketing automation, and there we have a difference between the United States and Europe, they talk about marketing automation, they talk about media automation. It's only media automation. It's a small part of what marketing basically is. The next step we will need to connect the media delivery, the media production, to all of the marketing. A complete integration of the process of producing media, of planning it, of having marketing, produce marketing content to all marketing resources, because it doesn't help if we target very well, if we hit the right person. We have then to deliver the right message at the right time and adapt it as much as possible to the person we talk to. This doesn't work manually as we traditionally did in the past and do today. So this is the next step will be that we get this media automation together with something in Europe partly called media marketing resource management, and that we get that together to a real marketing automation. That we take our data, we produce in our context with our customers, we get to steer with by contacting our publishers, the people we work with in the arena, and form something like a SAP system like the people from the financial department have. And I don't have the time to right now, but if you look to the development of the importance of CFOs in companies from the 50s, 60s, last century until today, you see a tremendous growth in importance, and these guys, in some cases, even govern the companies today. And the marketeers have dropped in importance, simply because they don't have the tools anymore to show up early enough with their results before the CFO comes and tells them what's happening in their department, sponsored by his overall big SAP system. So we have to have, as people coming from the marketing area, we have to have such systems. If we would have fulfilled this step, what's the next thing we have to do? Marketing then would be automated, steered by data, produced with our existing customers, combined with that what we know about future customers, and we are able to deliver products and information about that much, much more precisely, more efficient, and more effective. So to the best of our customers, to the best of the money that our company makes, and the best of the way products and resources are used. The next step is certainly that what we have learned in marketing, and in some parts of the company where data processes already today are very important, that we marketeers, people coming from the media and marketing area, we provide our know-how and our understanding that whatever we do, we are always, per definition, user-centric. We don't care about what basically happens in our company. We always care about what does the user need. We are totally addicted to the user interface. And if you look to the knowledge we have learned in the internet industry, I think never in the history of our economies we had so much understanding and so much ability to use this understanding for a direct contact, an immediate contact with our customers than today with the internet. This knowledge is something we should provide, and the idea how to work with it, and the clear will to center that in all our discussions and all our ideas is something we, the marketing people, could deliver into the whole company. So, data-driven enterprises, this is what we are working for, this is what we will look for. And despite all discussions I heard this morning, and the problems with what methodologies we do, I think I'm very sure this will come that way. There is no chance to do something different, because it's more efficiency, it's more effectiveness, and I don't see any other way to achieve the same results with another idea. So let's face it, data-driven enterprises, network factories are coming. What we have to do, and this will be a big task, and this will certainly take another 10 years or something like that, we will certainly tackle all the traditional processes, traditional thinkings, traditional ways of steering companies. We have to adopt these new ways to do that in a new world, so merging classical understanding, knowledge about production together with what we have learned in a data-driven world. This takes time, and either it's big data, whatever data methodology you use, I think smart data is the word from a non-technical perspective is the best way to use. Why should we do that, and why this is important? Much more important than simply getting a new stage of organizing our industrial resources and organizing the way people think, plan, produce, and deliver products to the people in the world. Why this is important? I think it's important because beside this automation, effectiveness-driven development coming from the way I just described, beside that, and this was very good to see also in the first keynote today, little points where the first time you see the Internet of Things, isolated little islands where you see it makes sense to have a kind of Internet of Things thing, and with this starting world of more and more variables, more and more contact points, more and more sensors, more and more direct connections from the very end, from one end to the other end, close to my body, close to the way I live and where I live. This will certainly foster this development, despite the disappointment perhaps Gartner may also make visible with their hype curve again. This will certainly, in this, the industry 0.4 is then the obvious consequence, because first you have products who tell you how to, the internet helps to connect a point, a data point, a sensor to the backbone in a company, and afterwards you have to organize a company in a way that it could act data-driven, process-like, self-learning, self-regulating, and with the given important effectiveness and efficiency. If we look to this world, latest at this point, we are, as technical person, as economic person, and as private person, we definitely are forced to talk about other things than only technology and finding new products. We have to talk about people who are anxious with a new world where they lose control to something which was is today in, for example, in the German laws guaranteed that they own their data. And we come, and we have heard that several times today, in a situation where we just discussed this with gentlemen from BMW, where you certainly have to share your data, otherwise you won't get this beautiful product. So we have to learn about new ways of doing that. We definitely have to produce new frameworks, how to deal with that. We have to learn who owns data, how we share rights for data. And there's a couple of questions. So we can't, even as people from the industry, we can't get away from this question. And I think, and this is disappointing to some extent, that especially in the European industry, there are not enough people in this discussion with politics. There's a small number from the German industry, for example, who really spend time on discussing that and helping the politicians not to make mistakes. And be assured, they are about to make mistakes, very bad mistakes. A couple of these guys in Brussels that's normal life at the age of mine, and we have lived up in a time where the results of the Nazi regime in Germany and then the East German communist regimes still made a lot of fear against data. So we have an emotional view to things which, in this case, in our new world, should be regarded much more rational. So we have to talk to them and make sure that the government understands data not only as a little passive reaction against big ecosystems coming from the United States of America and being viewed as more as an enemy than a partner to build up the infrastructure of the internet worldwide. And secondly, that we first of all look to the opportunities of the chances. We have to talk about what can we do with this data? What does it help us to do? And if we would make sure that they understand what chances they have, that there are much more chances than dangerous, then a data policy consists of two parts in parallel. It is not only data privacy regulation, it is first of all chances, opportunities, what can we do with data, and then in parallel, secondly, but also very important certainly, because I think we all need data privacy. I want to have it for myself and for my 18-year-old daughter to understand what's the world she will live in, and I'm already starting the discussions about the framework she is living in. So this is very important for us, but we have to force them to go for a real data policy, and days like today are very important for that. Why is this so important? Because I think, no, that's too early. Why is this so very important? I think that this all will come. How long it will take, how fast it will take, whether we take some detours. Industry 4.0, Internet of Things will come and it will change completely our lives. And our lives is also the way how we earn money, how we live, how our society is functioning through by the funding of our industrial strengths. In the country we are today, Germany, some of the social things wouldn't be there and wouldn't be as bad in other countries if we wouldn't have the money to finance it, simply. Yeah? We have a very sufficient social security. We have good roads, which need to be repaired sometimes, but overall we have excellent roads. We have an efficient railway, and this all needs money, and that's what industry is doing, and up to 70% of taxes flowing back into this infrastructure. So therefore, if we don't hinder data privacy populists, if we don't hinder politicians who try to make the simple, quick solution by, for example, a simple option system where the opt-in is the way to handle everything, and then believe that everyone is smart enough to deal with an opt-in situation. If we don't hinder these guys to do this kind of regulation, this would stop the European economy, because the changes we'll see in Industry 4.0 needs data, and we would regulate in a way that we were hindered, we would lose our position in the world as industrial leader. And this would mean the money to sponsor our special society. So it may have been a problem that Germany or Europe isn't very strong in the IT industry anymore. I bet IT is stuff we can buy from others, and meanwhile also build cheaply in the States, and little money going to the States. Built cheaply in China, and little money is going to the States, who own the IT industry. In the first wave of the internet industry, the times where the Googles and the Facebook came up, it is certainly not a little bit embarrassing for a proud technical nation like Germany is, to be only the workbench, the long workbench in the meanwhile. But this is all we can live with. If we would lose the battle to have our lead, to secure our leading position in the classical industry-owned area, by not being able to use data, by not being able to transform that into a world of Industry 4.0, we lose everything. So let's work on the discussions, how to hinder them and how to help them to not make that happen. Thank you.
And by the way, you raised an interesting answer to the question: do we actually care or not? You know, because working for the money and for the commercial application of these kind of things can have social influence at the end. You know, so this might be an interesting aspect to this question as such. How would I like to proceed? So the idea is of this panel is, as I said in the beginning, that pretty much as Matthias started in this talk, something is going on in the edtech industry. And I know that not everyone is working in that industry here in the audience, so you could say, why should I care? I mean, if these guys are developing a new technique to show stupid banner ads, I don't care anyway. But as I said in the beginning, this tends to leave this space and suddenly be applied in other spaces, outdoor ads, for example, cars and so on. So this is the idea to explore that a little bit, including the aspects for society, should we care, and so on. But I would like to start with the pure thing that is going on in edtech right now, and why it's so fascinating and so new and so disruptive for our industry. And ask Joelle perhaps to kick off. And Joelle, can you explain a little bit, what is going on? I mean, why is automation such a cool thing for us? Or, I mean, for those in the audience who are not working in edtech industry, how is an ad being delivered today? Why is it something that changes a lot?
Yeah, let me start with indeed a data-driven enterprise. The way we operate the world is quite inefficient. Data will help us to do that better. The way we communicate in this world used to be quite inefficient, and data is going to help us to do that better. And then we tackle down to advertising. The way we were doing advertising in the last 25 years was quite inefficient, and data is going to help us to do that better. That's the principle of data-driven advertising. Now, when data came into advertising, we couldn't really work with it. Why? All the media owners were so fragmented to run a certain campaign for BMW, targeting let's say the young women with a cat, not really realistic, but it was impossible to find that because you needed to approach over 200 website owners or to find that audience. Now, automation is so important because we can use the data now and execute on it and make it a realistic machine to get it to become more relevant. And relevance, I think, is the key word, what's happening today in advertising. So if I visit the website of the largest news website in Germany, within a couple of milliseconds, it will find the right ad for me. And that's probably not a cat ad, because I don't have a cat, so I don't need to see cat food ads. It will probably bring me offers on certain holiday destinations I like, or about small kids, which I have, but more relevant. And I personally like that. What worries me is that are we going to be able to keep that into European hands? And that's super important. This is not about do we like advertising or not, and what about our privacy? It's really about losing economic potential for economic growth in Europe. And if I look into the room and ask who's having a telephone, a smartphone with them without US software on it? Nobody. So you can't even have a phone today without US software on it. Now that's all connected to the advertiser, to the advertising. So it has changed the world massively, and it's super important that we in Europe keep our own technologies and have our own means of benefiting from this data-driven growth. So yeah, does that answer your question? Oh, I deviated a little bit too much.
No, excellent.
Yeah.
And let's stick for a second with that question. You know, what does it mean for the advertising industry? Because with Christian von Brincken, we have a representative of a very fancy edtech business, which is effectively, I mean, besides the digital stuff your company is doing, that would be an interesting aspect in a discussion later. Ströer is known for outdoor ads, right? Which are, if I think about automation, I mean, I know that people are driving around with a car and putting the ads physically on those billboards. So my question is that something that will play a role for your business in, I mean, 20 years? Or is it something you consider as a relevant topic right now in board meetings or whatever?
Well, I mean, to be frank, the funny situation is I'm really coming from the old world, right? I mean, as you said, Ströer is putting 220,000 billboards somewhere, and people are driving around by car to just put paint and fix it and put energy on it. And the reason why this is so old-fashioned in Germany has to do with the fact that this is very much regulated. So you cannot just put a big billboard somewhere and make it digital, like you do, for instance, in New York, where you have Times Square. You won't have it in Germany, because there were lots of laws against it. It's called Deutsche Lichterverordnung. It's from 1962. It's a very nice paper, and it doesn't allow you to put digital billboards because it says if you disturb driving car traffic, then they're making more accidents and no insurance is going to pay it. So this is why we're not going to have Times Square in Germany, never ever. Disappointment. Second thing is that we don't have just one big city where everything happens, like Istanbul, Paris, London, all this kind of stuff. We have 80 cities, which are quite important. So if you do something in Berlin, it's nice, but you need to go to Dortmund, Essen, somewhere else too, just to have reach. And if you want to do that, so you have to talk to 80 or 90 different offices of a lawyer somewhere, 80 to 90 different public office guys that try to tell you why you're not allowed to do this. So it's very difficult to build real-life digital infrastructure. And this is why, indeed, the degree of automation within Ströer, within the old world of Ströer, is quite low. Now a funny thing happens. We all have the outer net, with the internet being in the real life and active space being around us and everybody doing everything every now and then everywhere. And this, of course, is quite an interesting opportunity. And what we try to do right now is to connect to that. So our core strategic idea is to connect into the outer net by, for instance, using beacons, NFC, all this kind of stuff, but not just change the way our boards are being built. And by integrating digital services in our company, I mean, we just became second biggest supplier of online advertising in Germany. Of course, we are building up some assets that can help us to quicker go this transition, which we are currently facing.
Thank you. Matthias, I mean, once more looking back, you know, these 10 years, I think from day one we have advertised these kind of technologies as automation. I mean, this was always kind of the idea. Nevertheless, I think both of us would agree that something significantly changed over the last 2 or 3 years. How would you describe that as, you know, someone really with a long track in the industry? Do you see something significantly? Is there something that really now drives it into a new direction? Is automation something that now really happens?
Absolutely. I think the further growth of online advertising was kind of hindered by the logistical costs to do it in a way that a rational decision could be shown to the customer why to choose what, how. And this is one thing. The other thing is certainly also that there's a lot of money to earn in the advertising industry, and especially dealers earn a lot of money. Agencies make a hell of a lot of fortune of money out of dealing with advertising. And part of the development which fostered the programmatic advertising was the fact that agencies understood that they can get much more control to do arbitrage business than before, and finally win the game against the sales houses. So today I think there are basically no sales house left in Germany besides Google, the importer. The Germany-traded sales houses are all not strong enough to really impose their ideas, impose their direction on this market. This is now owned by the agencies, which have the tools, given database, and owning the complete portfolio of accessible placements. This has changed. This is two different developments coming together, and today I think programmatic only has 20-something%, but it'll grow.
This is an interesting aspect, Matthias. So it's a tool for the dealers, right? Because from how Joelle introduced it, and even myself, you could think it's a neutral kind of, yes, of course it should be automated, that's just a no-brainer. Everyone has benefit if things are being automated that have been done manual before. What you said sounded like it's not at all a neutral thing. It's it has interest attached to it. Is that right?
I think there's one of the largest agencies worldwide who made 10-fold earnings margin by moving to targeting. Although their systems, as you know, was not at all able to deliver something which is quality-wise was in those days applicable in the market. Nevertheless, they were able to impose that on the market and earned a lot of money. But I think this is a very time-driven view to the whole story. I think that'll change always. If things are changing, people are winning by providing workarounds which are available perhaps a year, 2 years. And over the time, I think we'll come into stable systems where more and more transparency will be forced by the advertisers. They want to have insights and transparency what they buy, and then these systems starts and the new systems are able to deliver that. And then over the time, I think agencies pushed back into the real role. The robbing time will be over. Yeah.
Christian?
Actually, I wouldn't necessarily say that agencies are controlling the system. At least they don't do it anymore, because if you want to leverage opportunities you have, you need significant tech stack in order to do so. Most agencies don't have that. They have, like, I don't know, 5, 6, 10 people doing some kind of database programming, and that's more or less it. You can build resources comparable to what, I mean, Google and all the big guys are doing. That's for sure. But if you want to have significant agile technical development, you need, like, let's say, 50, 60, 70 people doing so. And only very few companies can afford to do so in Germany. And these are merely, in my opinion, the media owners who do so, like Springer and some other big ones, us too, but not the agencies, because the business model doesn't actually support this kind of permanent investment in development.
Yeah. I don't think Springer is a great example, but from the Netherlands I can say that. But no, I think transparency is super important. And can you build as a publisher, because that's our client base merely, can you build that on your own? And well, I think no. Nobody builds their own ERP system or CRM system either.
Sure.
You need a white label technology that you can deploy as a media owner. That you can look at all these traders, because nowadays with a human eye you cannot judge the traders anymore, because they're trading on an unique on an audience basis, and you cannot judge that because it happens in milliseconds, and a human being cannot do that. So you need a system that's one, but not only media owners. You see also other type of companies that need a system like that. They say, okay, I have to communicate with my partners, I have to communicate with my audience that are my customers. How am I going to communicate in real time using my data? And I need the technology for that. And yeah, then it really comes down to can you judge who's a trader and who's a technology? That is that's really complicated. If you look at the market map that was created by Luma Partners and also by our company, it's really difficult to see who's a trader and who's a tech supplier. And I think, for example, Google, that's absolutely not a tech supplier. They've never been in this world to provide tech. It's an information company, read data company, and it's an advertising company in its core. And it's a trader in its core. That's where they come from. They had already 99% of the search engine market. What's next? Display. And another interesting reason why Google at all went into display is because of data. And not a lot of people realize that. But Google was strong in search. And because of data, they were starting to see a threat. Because with data, you could probably find a person interested in buying a BMW before he types in BMW. Because thanks to data analysis, you could find a group of audience that has the car around so many kilometers, that is behaving and moving around in areas or on locations where there's high income associated activities. And you could find that BMW purchaser before it types in BMW models 2014 in Google. And that's the exact reason why Google went into display and bought DoubleClick back in the days. This is all about the consumer wallet and who's going to own most of it. And not only about advertising in the sense of marketing, but also about sales, digital sales. And the whole retail industry is facing a situation where more and more of the sales is moving to online or digital. And also there we have the threat of losing our position in Europe as European retail companies towards the likes of Amazon that have been faster when it comes to data. So this is absolutely a threat, and I know there's people from the European Commission here realize economic growth will come from data and accepting data, and innovation is directly connected to it. So yeah, it keeps me awake at night.
Joelle, thanks for helping me, with bringing in BMW, as a topic, because this will be an obvious one. Before we have a look at, what automation means for car driving and cars of the future, I would like to make one note, for if we later tackle, effects on society. Obviously, automation is not neutral, and it has some strange effects on transparency, right? I mean, that's something I learned, from the discussion, that it obviously has problematic effects on transparency. So let's have a look at connected cars, cars with tons of sensors and so on. So, Mr. Wisselmann, are you embracing automation as well at BMW? Is it something the new BMWs will have built in by default?
I think yes, it will take a while, of course, before we will come to this automated driving. But I think the development of cars is really a story of automation. I think just for example, in the last 40 years, we could decrease the number of killed people in Germany in traffic accident on 20%. That means we reduced it about 80% by automation, by airbag, by vehicle control systems. And now I think we are leaving the next step. If we want to enter the next level of this security, we really have to communicate with the environment. That means we need a dynamic model of the environment. That means we need data. And the data we can produce by ourselves with our sensors, but we have to, of course, to combine them. We have to bring them up to the next level with smart data. For example, BMW delivers data, Mercedes delivers data, Volkswagen as a mass car producer has to deliver data, and we have to combine these data to build up one model of the dynamic environment. And of course, we are facing all these problems with privacy, with data security, who will own the data. But this is for us a prerequisite that we really can go this next step of automation. And there's a second link then to the big data discussion. To be often in the moment when you're going with your car, it's sometimes maybe a little bit boring. If you have a 1 hour traffic jam in the town, it's not that fun of drive. What happens? You are under challenge. You are dealing with your smartphone. You get distracted. Maybe you make an accident because your thoughts are completely on another level. And here, two streamings are, or two things are meeting, met one by one. If we enter this level of automation, we get more time for the driver, and then he can continue with his digital life, which he has outside of the car. He can transfer it into the car, and can again transfer it out of the car. That means these are two streams, Bewegungen, two movements, which I think will come together.
But I think this is a very important factor. Actually, the data you're looking at or you're using are geospatial data, right? I mean, the focus is on what happens at a certain geocage in the real world. Absolutely. On the street or close to my car or on the street which I'm going to move in. So the focus is not on the person who's driving the car. Yes. He delivers the data, but the focus is on what happens in outer space. Yeah. Right? And this is also very much the focus we have too. And I think you really have to differentiate between personal data, which of course is a topic. Once you have to provide your personal data to somebody, you need to be sure that they don't get misused. But as long as we talk about aggregating this into geocages, I don't think we have such a big data security problem.
Yep. So may I ask, I mean, wouldn't it be a natural move for Ströer to make a deal with BMW to have billboards in the cars? If people sit there and are bored,
I can tell you why not. No.
Are there discussions on that?
No, absolutely not, because in the car you have a one-on-one relationship with broadcasting. In general, our business model is not to have one-on-one, but to have one-on-many. So when we air one spot, for instance, at a station, we're reaching 20, 30 people at 1 second, just all passing by. Right?
But you could.
So one-on-one is not efficient.
You could make all the BMWs in the same cage bookable with your ads as well?
No, it's too few.
So you have to sell more BMWs.
I know it's a nasty answer, but the business model we're having is very much on traffic. I mean, I can give you an example. Airports
applies for him as well.
For out-of-home advertising are not very important just because you don't have enough traffic. Yeah. And everybody would say, oh, an airport is a big place where everybody goes. But if you look at Berlin, you have like 50,000 people a day at the airport. And Berlin Station, you have 350,000 per day, which is 7 times more, right? So this is significantly more traffic. So, but just putting screens in BMWs wouldn't be enough traffic.
Regarding BMW, Mr. Wisselmann, does BMW have an ethics department? So, theologists, or because I mean, in the near future, your cars will have to make heavy decisions, won't they? I mean, if they want to avoid an accident, and they can either rush into
but I think this is not
car
a
on the
problem
right or on the left hand.
Yeah, I think it's okay. Of course, we have special departments dealing with compliance and ethic problematics. But I think this is more a core problem for the technicians. I think the idea is, of course, that we have to make a global balance. If we enforce the automation, maybe by automated braking or an automatic sweeping maneuver, and in general, it should reduce the number of accidents, the number of injured people, and the number of killed people. Maybe we can produce some additional accidents. Could be. But of course, there's a ratio from, I don't know, as a mechanical engineer, I have to say, if we reduce more accidents than we produce, we have to do it.
I'm correct, you know, that an autonomous driving car, or even, I mean, today's cars with their assistance and the lane keeping thing and so on, are sometimes taking over the brakes or even the steering wheel. This necessarily means that there will be situations where the car is making decisions that, in the worst case, can mean killing people, right? Isn't
yes, of course. Also, the human drivers today can make mistakes, and clear target is that the machine driver is making much less accidents or much less errors than the human driver. Of course, this is a driving force behind that.
Yeah.
We cannot. In the moment, there is no legislation in Europe that we can go with really highly automated driving cars. It means that you're really dealing with some other stuff,
allowed,
and in the moment it's not allowed with this highly automated driving. Of course, one way only to convince the officials we have to reach a legislation is that we, of course, increase safety of driving. That's a clear driving force.
And talking about transparency, I mean, say these cars, I mean, they will make a lot of decisions. In most cases, hopefully, it will not have to do with accidents and killing people, but perhaps just, I mean, changing the route and these kind of things. So it's algorithms who take over stuff that has been done by humans before. In your thinking and your discussions in the company, is that a topic that you think, you know, we should make that transparent to the driver, for example? To tell them, actually, here's an algorithm or here's a decision engine, whatever, and it's configured in a way that it will behave like this. You can change it. Is that something you consider?
I think now we are discussing really over the very, very far future. But anyway, I think today our drivers trust in the BMW. If you trust, if you go on a highway with, I don't know, 200 kilometers per hour, you are absolutely sure nothing happens, or I make a mistake by myself. You don't expect that the axle is braking. That's something that there is no technical damage, and we have, of course, to transfer this trust level into also automated cars, and this will be a process. We're starting with traffic jam assistance technologies and with all these advanced driver assistance systems which is today available in the market. And we think that we can transfer this trust level of today also in these automated cars. And the result will be that the automated car will go like let me say a defense driver. That means a lot of situation which is coming by aggressive drivers will not appear. It's becoming smoother. Maybe it takes some more time, but so what? You can work while driving, for example. And
it's interesting that BMW is working on this defense driving thing. Yeah, good news.
I think maybe we have a wrong image in the society. now I think it's really, this discussion is over.
Matthias, yeah.
I wanted to point something to this thing from BMW. If you remember the industry, the mobile telephone making industry, owned by the Nokias, Siemens, Ericsson, kind of owning everything. And those days, having a US a phone was something you didn't have. Yeah, certainly not. Very quickly, in a very short time, the whole industry in Europe toppled completely, simply because the ideas of the engineers in Ericsson, Siemens, Nokia tried to expand the existing systems, to add new features, to make it a little bit cheaper, to make it a little bit looking better, whatever, but expanded an existing system, existing idea. And what Apple did by providing the first iPhone to the world completely disrupted everything. So it redefined completely what a mobile is. So when you answer the question from Stephan, isn't what you look for, I think security is something which is that's important, but to some extent old-fashioned, because I know from my daughter and their friends, they drive differently than we drove in my time. When I was young, I was driving fast. Speed was everything, and I didn't no hinderness could stop us. Today, they don't care anymore. They kind of they drive smoothly. They don't really care about the car anymore. So I think the car is and could be something new, where you sit in order to, while doing something, get from point A to point B. Yeah. So as I use today the Deutsche Bahn, where's among my 4 offices, the second most used is the Deutsche Bahn, and use that like an office. One day I would love it if I go down to my house in Tyrol. I would love to have this hour also be able to work a little bit aside, because driving on the German Autobahn, even if you have 400 horsepower, isn't fun anymore. It's boring, and to deal with these guys who love to do parking on an Autobahn. Yeah, and Matthias, so the question is whether this what you described, the next step could be something new, and then you are totally connected to the internet. Then you have to provide a lot of other contacts into this world, because people are surrounded by internet in the meanwhile, contacts they need, and then also back to advertising. Then you have thousands of contacts in a car which could be used and could be reworked, repaid, because also you will run into problems to get your cars paid. You have perhaps a pay model to deliver your BMW.
Yeah. And Matthias, if you think about your daughter, do you feel safe, thinking about her driving in a completely algorithm-based automated driving car, or, I mean, crossing a street where all these cars are approaching?
Yes, because the head of an 18-year girl is definitely not stable enough to compete with automated systems who were overthought by people like him.
My daughter is 22.
This conference is
not before
streamed on YouTube, girl, by the way. Yeah?
Even boys, even worse.
Yeah.
She doesn't watch YouTube.
Okay. Maybe just one word. Of course, we are open. I think you're aware about our car sharing activities, for example, and we have of course we have a kind of conversion process. Of course, from 2 days manual driving, people love driving, to maybe a complete, highly automated or fully automated driving, like in the train. To be honest, we will see what really happens, because you have still sometimes some roads where you say, okay, it's really fun to drive. It makes really fun to handle a car, and we will try to keep this basis. But if the view of the society is changing completely, we have to adapt. Yeah. But I think this will take, I don't know, 30 years, something like this. This
I would really wish very that BMW does it earlier than Nokia answer to the idea.
I hope that we are prepared, I hope.
Okay.
So the BMW will have an escape button, right? which says turn down algorithms now. This road looks nice. I want to steer it myself.
As far as our customer wants this, yes.
Yeah.
They've just introduced the start button to start the system. So.
Joelle, in your roadmap thinking, right? Do you think 5 years in the future you will have placements inside of cars, or standard banners that are being displayed in the head-up display when automation is on?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And again, back to the car. Why is Google driving cars today? Think about it. People that have a car have an income. It's a super interesting audience. Think about all the radio advertising that you can take over. People in the kids in the back of the car. Well, kids advertising is a bit difficult, but yes, that's why we are in the car, why Google is in the car, and why other companies should think about the connected car as an entertainment station. Beyond safety first, but then directly after that, entertainment. And our technology, anything that is digital, will be part of our platform. We're now testing digital radio, and it's a matter of time. The fundamental practice of delivering the right ad to the right audience is not different if you do that in a car or on a billboard in a station, if it can be digital there. You can use, in the case of Ströer, if you are in a station, is it the digital screens? Yeah, I'm from the Netherlands, so
yes.
Yeah, so there you could connect that to weather data, you can,
do.
and then change that, but to tons of other hours of the day, the type of audiences, and the car the same. So yeah, that's absolutely part of it.
And guys, I mean, talking about automation in outside advertising, one thing is not mentioned yet, but it will be during the conference a lot. It is our homes, right? So we will have. Actually, I installed a home automation system myself in my house. My wife loves it because every time she doesn't respond on text messages, I can turn down, I can close the windows or something like that, which creates a lot of noise, and I get a response within seconds usually. So automation can make our lives better. But my question is, I mean, clearly that's also a vision, that you said, Google is in the car, Google is also in the house. And they will have their sensors all around. And if you delete the cookies, perhaps your heating won't work anymore. I don't know. Will we see Ströer billboards in houses in the future? Will that be, in my bathroom? Will you have space there which can be bought by an advertiser?
Frankly, also no, because it's not enough audience. It's,
yeah, okay, it's just
that's
me.
I have to repeat myself. I mean, we do have guys who are asking us if we don't want to put like 2 million TV screens on people's houses and give it for free and then do the advertising. But the business model doesn't work, frankly. So at least not yet. So I don't think so. I mean, the second thing is I've recently cleaned my room when I moved into a new house, and I found a nice old Was ist was Buch. I mean, all the Germans know what I'm talking about, right? It's kind of children books explaining the world. And on the last page, you always have the vision for the future. If you take just 20 books of this from the 70s and you take the vision of the future page explaining the world in 2015, where we are right now, you have amazing visions. None of them really worked out. So I think the development that happens in reality, especially in Germany, in this kind of innovation, is significantly slower than we all dream of.
And guys, I have a question, a follow-up question on this, because theoretically, talking about automation, it means often that transaction costs are being lowered or removed. So things are getting easier. That's a reason why advertising embraces that so much. And I can talk, from our business, what we see is that customers are suddenly doing 10 times the number of campaigns with the same amount of people. As you now several times said, it's too small, which for me translates into there's too much effort because we have to send out people driving with their cars and put these ads into people's houses and so on. Don't you think you're underestimating, this effect of automation, that suddenly small pieces will make sense, even in your company, because everything will just be automated. You know? I mean, you won't have to make a deal with my house to place a billboard there. It will, an agent, you know, sitting in the net somewhere with my payroll details will make that deal with your agent, and we will never talk. You know, suddenly the ad will appear.
But if
do you think this plays a role? I mean, that suddenly things work that used to have too much overhead in terms of work in the future?
Could be the case, but sometimes the answers are quite unromantic. So if I put a screen in your house, I have to pay your energy bill, and that gets even higher and higher every now and then. So I mean, if you put a digital screen somewhere in Germany, like a big LCD screen, you go crazy about energy costs, and you find out it's even cheaper to put normal painted screens over there and change it every day than to run the energy of the LED screen. And even if you can afford the energy, then suddenly later you face other problems like maintenance and all kind of stuff. So if you run big networks, that's what I'm saying, then your costs can easily become very, very high. And we're all talking about running big networks because our core idea is to be a mass broadcaster, mass media, and not to go into too tiny bits and pieces.
I think your answer really has to do with the fact that you own a large network, and this makes a totally different attitude towards this problem. I was working for a company who's number 2 worldwide in hosting. For no one, hosting right now is a good business model anymore. But if you own so many contracts and you are so powerful, and you make any price, you may kill every. We entered to Spain and gave it for free for 2 years, until everyone else was dead, and then we asked for money. So this works if you're big, yeah. I honestly think that this will change again because we're coming from the old world where the placement was important. Today, if you put something very closer to the decision point, the point of decision or the moment you need it. For example, if I drive with my BMW to buy something, and I always get real direction from my wife, what to buy where, and also how to work through the damn supermarket to find the whole stuff. That's terrible. It feels so damned foolish. And if I would get, at the very last moment, a little information about what you definitely, from my personal ideas, should buy there today because so cheap or so good or so special, then I would love that, and I would love to have that. And I would allow BMW to make a deal with Ströer to deliver that into my car. Yeah? And so what I think is what the new world of Internet of Things will replace is the old thinking in we have a DIN A4, I don't know that in English, DIN A4 newspaper or the TV screen. There's been a lot of contacts, very difficult contact, where direct marketing and the old advertising is coming together. Contact, however contact. And this however contact world, there the cost per contact automatically delivered, automatically put into a big network, automatic from the point of interest, where it is right now, how long it is, how big it is, then it would be cost-wise very effective to use whatever contact concept, and then you would definitely have 100 contact point in one BMW, I'm sure.
But you would merely use the personal screens of the people if they allow you to do so, than installing screens in their houses.
Yeah. I mean, the BMW will be run by a smartphone app anyway.
Or
2 years ahead,
you have a screen there, and if I stop the car, then I get right now the BMW logo. What the hell I need the BMW logo? I would need, for example, buy this special XYZ right now.
You can have Google too on their screens, meanwhile.
Yeah, I know, but I have BMW and I'm...
Matthias, you mentioned Industry 4.0 a lot in your introduction speech, my question is, I mean, what does automation mean for this? You also mentioned, the big companies that are kind of, fueling also society and taxes and so on. And if you talk with people about, future of industry and production under the aspect of automation, frequently this notion of local, small fabrication, 3D printing, whatever comes, you know, which effectively means that the big companies will face hard times. Do you think, you know, also from a BVDW kind of perspective, is this really something we should embrace as an industry nation, if you like? You know, is it naturally something that will benefit companies like, say, BMW or RWE? You know, if you take the energy sector, or is there also a potential that some of them might be killed? Of course, not BMW, but
yeah, I think they could nicely work together. If you look to Germany, the health status of the German economy has to do with the fact that it's not only the large companies who make Germany so powerful in industry, it is a mass of medium-sized and smaller companies. If you go in some parts of Northern Westphalia, wherever in Germany, or in most in Württemberg, if you go there, you have little small shops, world leader in XYZ, in stuff you usually don't understand. And this, therefore, we are kind of prepared, in comparison to other countries like France. Is much more giants. They have merged a lot of companies into giants, which are much easier to topple and don't develop as fast. Even the States, you have the same symptom. The German industry in itself has the best point set up to adopt that, because you have fast-moving small companies directly linked to. BMW is today a hub and works with 1,000, 2,000 different companies. They used to be, BMW today is already an integrator. It's a marketing company and works as an integrator with a lot of technology.
So some technicians are still there.
No. But overall, I think
the
concept how the industry is working already, automotive industry is already today, is this hub principle. So they can easily adopt and let some of the challenges done by fancy new companies who can start with earn not too much money, but then develop it in a way that BMW take it down to the big series. So to that opinion, I think it is not. It's you need these big companies who are stable enough to not jump to the next hype, who make long-looking decisions. If they are combined with these smart ideas producers, together with what we in Industry 4.0 we have, I'm absolutely sure that this would be something which would not too much change the German economy.
Thank you. Okay, audience, I need your support now. Because my preparation sheet says I wanted to tackle society as well. And the question I wrote down is, what if we cared? And I think you know, this is something. I mean, we talked about industry, we talked about advertising, future billboards in cars and in our homes and so on. And the aim of the conference is, as I said in the beginning, also to try to think about, you know, effects on society. And I like very much, you know, the discussion this morning is, can we turn that very powerful tool? I mean, that we're talking about a lot of technology, algorithms, new ways of storing data, investments, and so on, which currently are being used to show better ads. Awesome. I mean, this really drives society forward. Or, I mean, to make a car a little bit more automated, perhaps a little bit better. My question is, I mean, to us, to challenge us here on the podium, but also you guys in the audience. I mean, any ideas of how automation could make something better for society? Do you have ideas, or do you want to challenge us on the podium, you know, to think into a certain direction? There's a question.
I guess I do have a society question. I'd like to ask a question regarding Mr. Ehrlich's call to action to limit data privacy regulation. The question is, what about the possibility of international regulatory collaboration in making privacy policies better worldwide, thereby controlling for competitive advantages? I mean, without this, doesn't it seem like a race to the bottom, specifically a race to see who can regulate the least, no matter what the cost to individuals? I mean, yes, businesses pay taxes, but not all of quality of life of individuals is provided by state taxes. Like, surely not. An analogous problem is global warming. I mean, in this case, the success of industry is not necessarily is not necessarily improving the quality of life. International policy, regulatory policy, is what is necessary.
I'm not sure whether I got all your points, or very many and difficult to understand. First thing is, I don't believe in today in the possibility to work on a worldwide global regulatory system. I don't believe in that, because worldwide would need also Asia, and if we look to Asia, they don't care, and there's not the cultural attitude available to discuss something which, to build up our privacy understanding in Europe, it took 200, 300 years. So the fast development in Asia doesn't lead to kind of civil citizen kind of development, which then develop privacy. That's a cultural approach in Europe. I think even between the States and Europe, we will not find an equivalence. There is total agreement among, let's call them again, the data privacy populists on both sides. Forbidding everything makes very easy agreement achieved in 2-day operation, 1 page of law. But on the other side, if you really look if you take in consideration how many questions coming up, if you really try to do something which is positive, helps to deploy data, use data, then you have tons of questions. In our discussion with the politicians in Berlin, you sometimes have 200 questions to answer, to discuss. And this is a difficult process. So we are coming, it is not that for European view, Google or Facebook harming our privacy laws, but they don't do it because they are bad or angry or whatever, or want to make money. That's the way they think there. They just have an attitude which is purely American, and they don't care. They openly accessible data, whether someone has been in prison or not. Yeah, no one takes care. Impossible in Germany. So from these different traditions, you have different laws. What you can do now to start to, over the time, the next 10 years, one day we will have this common law. Yes, I think so. But right now, we need a kind of, we need a step now. Everyone feels that. In the industry, the politicians think that, the data privacy experts think that. So we do need something right now. That we have to work on the first step as a common European law, how we understand privacy, and put the next step afterwards.
I do have a travel recommendation on that. There was one society in Europe which is actually completely digital, because in their constitution they put the right for everybody that you have broadband internet access all over the country. That is Estonia. So in Estonia you get a personal SIM card with your personal ID, and just with that you can vote on the election via SMS until the final second before the numbers are being counted. So if you're interested in that topic, this kind of society has very much experience with how does digitalization and automation affect everyday life in positive and negative ways, of course.
Would you say, Christian, that this affects participation in the democracy and decision-making in the policy arena? Is it something?
Absolutely. They have a completely different way to talk to each other. It's much more agile. I would say the biggest benefit about Industry 4.0 is agility, speed. And they're just very pragmatic and very quick in doing things. So they do the same things that we do, but they do it much faster, and that gives them the big competitive advantage. They don't do so because they are so clever, they do so because otherwise the Russians would be faster than them and just take them over. So it's quite unromantic at the end.
Unbelievable.
But it led to an interesting situation in which you can really experience how digital life is happening in reality and not just in YouTube and on conferences.
Yeah, maybe on environmental or good things for the world. I'm not a specialist, but I can imagine if you use data in logistics. We're shipping stuff from A to B to all the time in the world, and I don't know the data, but I can imagine that quite a sum or quite an amount of that logistics wouldn't be necessary if we would use real-time data and optimization in the logistic world better than today, and we're only in the early days of it. So that could be a positive impact for the planet. Because the question came up, but if we do things more efficient, it will be better.
There's one thing. There's a study in Germany. You could cut the German logistic travel by the factor of 2. You would have a law which force everyone to take part in this thing, and then take something along, take a long ride or take a long enforce that. With big data, you could cut that in 2, and this would be a big impact to German exhaustion of Abgase, wie immer das heißt.
I'm not so sure whether my mother company lost the current discussion, but good ideas. Yeah. Perhaps more ideas from the audience. I asked for a challenge, so.
Hi. Oh.
Hey.
Hi.
The moderator.
I was actually supposed to sit there where Stephan is sitting, Leif Pelikan. But unfortunately, there are things we can't change, like the weather, yet. And there was just fog over Berlin, which caused a delay. But actually, I prepared a question, or I thought a lot about one question, which is simply speed. We had the discussions for years now, and it's pretty much the same discussions about privacy laws. About technical developments. I know you guys from the start, where you started with targeting, ad targeting, and it took ages, I mean, in terms of internet, ages, to develop a product and to get it into the market. And I fear that it's actually speeding up. And this is probably a question going to all of you. How much are we in danger because we're too slow here in Europe? Joelle, you might want to start.
Yeah, all of us, I think yes, and that has to do with, we have a disadvantage that we are a little bit more fragmented in Europe, so it just takes more time to get certain scale that you can address with your company. Looking at a company, at us, or looking at nugg.ad, to expand in all these different markets, it's always cost a little bit more energy than to expand across the United States. So we have that disadvantage. We have a lot of advantages as well, but we need to speed up, and that requires pan-European regulations. It requires a certain investment climate, and that requires a certain regulation and return on investment rules and regulation, pan-European. We're absolutely not there yet. In the Netherlands, we have an opt-in situation. Now, it's crazy. You haven't seen that many pop-ups in the 90s. We're back to everywhere you go, you need to accept cookies. And before you know, you're accepting that many. You in an accident, you can accept yourself into the strangest networks because you don't look anymore. And then just in Holland, while there are all kind of pan-European campaigns, just an example. VAT rules around Europe. It is that needs to be improved for us to be able to speed up.
The question also goes to BVDW. I mean, you're developing a self-driving car, but by the time you're ready, maybe it's the case that Google is actually shipping.
That Google is actually shipping by the time you're ready, thousands of cars already. Is that actually a fear within the company?
Of course, we are aware of this problem, but we started the whole activities looking for automated driving 10 years ago. I think we started before Google. We have a lot of.
Let me think. Google was not earning money 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's okay. I think they have the money. They can play around with these new technologies, and they can explore. But anyway, I think it's clear we are in a kind of competition, but if you look at Google in the moment, they have a very, very special approach, because with these completely fully automated cars without any steering wheel and any devices, it's clear that they have to low down the speed and that they want to go to this urban mobility. And this will be the over next time. I think it's a great idea. It can solve a lot of problems, but it will take some decades. And not because we are so slow, because we have in the moment you have 500 million cars on the world. You need about 10 or 12 years just to replace all these cars, and therefore it's really a little bit different if you come from this old steel bending and aluminum bending world compared to internet new functionalities in the internet world. I think I hope we are still aware of the problem, and I hope we are prepared. But at the end of the day, it's a competition, or it will arise a competition, maybe with Google.
Okay, guys and girls, I get signs that time is over, but I would like to address the last question to the panelists, and that is talking about automation. What is your, I mean, thinking, I don't know, 5 years ahead or so, or tomorrow, what is your most favorite thing you would like to see automized as soon as possible? Joelle, would you start?
Personally or as a company?
Personally, please.
Yeah, for me it would be fantastic if you have wearables and you have all the information about your personal health, and that automatically it will bring me the right food and nutrition, that it will all be optimal, and it also will alarm me when my sleep that would be fantastic. So you basically, something outside of yourself helps you to be fit without that you need to think about it yourself to go to the gym and to buy salads. So for me personally, that would be fantastic if in real time I would be managed by a machine towards a healthy and happy, fit life.
Awesome. Christian.
Well, I have just bought a house cleaning robot and it works. So now I'm happy. I'm done. I'm fine. I don't need more automation.
But by the way, I have the same experience. I mean, this vacuum cleaning robot is just unbelievable awesome, you know, if it works.
We're not allowed to name the brand.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Not
no,
all
there
are
are many
working
companies.
well, but there was one that's very good one.
Yeah.
We need a small cleaning robot in the car who is.
Please, yeah.
No, I think automatic text declaration. This would be good.
Oh, yes. And they seem to be working
quite
on
simple,
that.
yeah. I read it just now. I say, good idea.
Yeah. Matthias.
Looking forward when these 3 robots, the one from the house, the one from the garden who cuts the green, and the one from the pool, meet one night. What will happen?
They will text you a message. We took over.
Lock you out of the house.
It's done.
Yeah. Okay, amazing thought for the lunch break. Thank you very much to my panelists and to the audience for your challenges. And I think I can just say enjoy the lunch break, right? Circus?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.